Goeienaand, dis tyd vir Fokus en die Fokusspan is soos altyd op ons pos. Ek is Lenet Francis Peuren, baie welkom. Inwoners van 'n vooraanstaande buurte in die noorde van Johannesburg leef in vrees omdat 'n vermeende brandstigter glo vir onbekende redes hulle huise aan die brand steek. Volgens lede van die gemeenskappe het die vermeende brandstigter se misdadige optrede geëskaleer en steek hy nou huise aan die brand terwyl die inwoners daar is. Die brande, volgens 'n sekuriteitsmaatskappy, het skade van miljoene rande berokken. Die polisie het aan Fokus bevestig dat hulle die beweerde brandstigtings ondersoek. Vania van die Heever en kamerman Sipho Nguni het ondersoek gaan instel.
Inwoners en sekuriteitsmaatskappye van die gesogte buurte in die noorde van Johannesburg glo 'n brandstigter is verantwoordelik vir 13 brande by luukse huise in die afgelope 12 maande.
It's Athol and Athol area. There have been about approximately 13 fires. Today we found out about another one, so we think 14. There could be more. In the beginning he used to go for houses that weren't occupied, but recently he's gone for the elderly people that are in the houses. But the elderly people in the area seem to be the targets because they're easy. Once he's got into their home and they happen to be there, he's in control of the situation. The old people are petrified in this area. I mean, you got to think about it. Here they are sitting there very vulnerable. This guy, I think, doesn't only set houses on fire. I think he started off as a thief. He's a very casual guy. He knows, he's very confident. Before he burns the house, you can see this is the bar. He's actually had a whole lot of drinks in here, had a party in here. Some houses he has a party and then he drinks and then he eats, he even goes and cooks himself some food. Then when he's ready, he sets the place on fire. And we believe that he actually sits at a distance and watches the house burn, because everybody comes to put the fire out and he sits and watches it. And we have proof of that from stuff that he's taken from a house, and we found it in the neighbor's house that while he's sitting there eating and drinking while the fire's on. So we are creating a profile, and you can see the destruction. I mean, these houses are old houses. I don't know what this house would go for, maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 million, and the other houses as well. So you're looking at millions of rands that has been destroyed. The one old couple, he locked them in the room and said, "You're going to die." And he locked them and he pushed off. Luckily, the neighbors managed to pull the old couple out of the window at the bottom. The other one here in Houghton, the fidelity security guard managed to break the burglar proofing, and they pulled him out there. They had to go to the neighbors.
Andre vermoed dat die vermeende brandstigter ander gebiede gaan teiken as hy nie binnekort vasgetrek word nie.
Don't think the guy can't get in a taxi and go to another place and start. I think that maybe he's got a grudge about the wealth, because these are wealthy homes. I mean, there's no cheap homes that he's burnt. And maybe he gets pleasure out of seeing people suffer. Maybe it's maybe these old homes burn nicely because a lot of them have got a lot of wood in them. And like this place has got chandeliers and it's got wooden staircases and wooden windows. There's some houses that he's burnt that not that old, but they're expensive homes. And I think he just gets a kick out of seeing expensive homes go up because it's a power kick.
'n Sekuriteitsmaatskappy wat in die buurte werk, het 'n R100,000 beloning aan lede van die publiek aangebied om met enige inligting vorendag te kom wat kan help om die vermeende brandstigter te vang. Een van die slagoffers van die brande het ook glo 'n addisionele R100,000 as beloning aan die publiek vir inligting aangebied.
This lady from this house here, she's living in France at the moment. She had a grand piano that was saved. The neighbors came and took but she had very expensive artwork. It's all burnt up. She's petrified. She's adding another R100,000 onto the bill. So we're looking at R200,000 on this guy's head. We are lifting the game for him. So if he wants to take us on, by all means, we're ready for it.
'n Bejaarde egpaar wat deur die vermeende brandstigter in Desember 2021 aangeval en wie se huis aan die brand gesteek is, het ingestem om met ons te praat, maar wou anoniem bly uit vrees vir hulle lewe.
Dit was 'n Saterdag, ons het inkopies gaan doen. Ons is so 2 uur terug huis toe. En ons het gesien dat iemand het aan die sleutels en die deure gedoen. Hulle is gekrap. En ons het met ons vriende gebel en gesê ons vermoed daar is iemand in die huis. Maar hulle het gesê hulle kan nie onmiddellik kom nie. Ons het ingegaan, ons het eers koffie gedrink en dan het my vrou besluit om slaapkamer toe te gaan. En toe sy daar gaan, toe sien sy daar is 'n man wat staan. En hy het begin om haar te slaan. Hy het 'n stok in die huis gekry en hy het ook 'n brandblusser gehad wat ons in die huis het. En hy het die brandblusser gebruik om as blind te maak. En sy het dit weerstaan. Sy het dan geskreeu vir my naam en ek het afgekom. Ek het hom gesien. Hy het my met die brandblusser ook lekker gesprei en dan het hy 'n stoel opgeneem en gevang. En die stoel in my rigting geslaan. Dit het my op die kop getref. Ek het geval op my rug. En as 'n ouerige man, dit is baie moeilik om op te staan. En hy het aanhou my vrou slaan. En toe skielik sit hy 'n brandblusser aan die brand en steek die klere in die kamer aan die brand. En toe stap hy uit en hy sê, you will die now, I've set the fire. Hy het niks gesteel nie. Hy het net die huis aan die brand gesteek.
Net hierna meer oor die kommerwekkende gedrag en moontlike motiewe van hierdie brandstigter. Bly ingeskakel. Welkom terug by Fokus. Die bejaarde slagoffer vertel hoe hy en sy vrou deur die vermeende brandstigter gemartel en verdood agtergelaat is.
Die bejaarde slagoffer sê hy het die vermeende brandstigter in sy oë gekyk.
Hy het 'n gesig gehad soos die normale Caucasian, maar hy was nie 'n blanke persoon nie. Hy was, die gesig was, soos ek sê, soos 'n normale Caucasian. Hy het nie dik lippe gehad of soets nie. Plat neus en hy was studente aangetrek. Ek dink, as ek reg onthou, hy het wit op sy skoene gehad. Ek moet sê, sy uitspraak was goeie Engels. Dis nie die gewone Engels wat jy van sulke mense kry nie. Hy was ook goed gekleed. Ek dink hierdie ou soek ouer mense en hy weet dat die weerstand sal nie normale weerstand wees as hy jonger mense aanrand.
Die bejaarde man meen die polisie het hulle glad nie deur hierdie traumatiese tyd bygestaan nie.
Ons het besoek van die polisie gehad. Hulle het 'n staat van ons geneem en dis die eerste en laaste keer wat ons hulle gesien het.
Josh Nell van die Fidelity Sekuriteitsmaatskappy het dit oor die vermeende brandstigter se modus operandi gesê.
Daar was aan die begin daar was twee modus operandis. Die eerste modus operandi was geweest waar die krimineel glad nie kontak gemaak het met die eienaars nie, met die huiseienaars nie. Hy het sy tyd gevat by die perseel. Hy gaan nie jy weet hy maak seker dat die alarm nie aan is nie. Dit 6-7 ure wat hy op die perseel was wat ons het op kamera. En dan steek die plek aan die brand so 4 uur die oggend. Gewoonlik so 4 uur en dit was aan die begin gewees. Op hierdie stadium die tweede modus operandi wat hy gebruik is nie tydverbonde nie. Dis deur die dag of die aand. en hy maak kontak. In meeste van die slagoffers is ongelukkig ons ouer mense. En ek dink dit is waar hy die toneel kan domineer, waar hy voel hy kan dit domineer, hy kom met geweld in en hy domineer die toneel en hy vat oor van daar af. Dit was so ergens laas jaar wat toe ons regtig gekyk het na die toneel en jy kan identifiseer daar is beams wat nie getamper word of so iets. En toe ons eerste footage gekry het van die krimineel, toe besef ons hier's iemand wat in die huise ingaan en hy's nie noodwendig daar om iets te steel nie. Maar as jy dan die kamera die footage wat ons wel het van die suspect, kan ons sê met sekerheid sê dat daar is daai een modus operandi en dit word nou geeskaleer, ongelukkig. Hy gaan in die huis in, veral as die alarm nie aan is nie, wat meeste van die tyd is, dan gaan hy in die huis in en hy loop in die kombuis rond. Ek is nie heeltemal seker wat se impak hy het, of wat se impak dit het op hom nie, maar hy gaan in die kombuis en maak die yskas oop, eet ietsie, gooi vir hom iets om te drink, daar's wyn, cider, daar's verskillende goeders wat hy al gedrink het, op botteltjies wat ons al gekry het. So dit is nie asof hy soek vir daai diersame goedere nie.
Nel sê die rede agter die brande is nog steeds 'n raaisel.
Hy is nie iemand wat ingaan om te kyk of hy iets kan steel nie. Daar's baie diersame goedere wat hy nie eens gevat het nie. So hy's op soek na hier is iets wat hy wil doen. Hy obviously hy gaan in, hy kyk die area uit, hy kyk die huis uit. Ek glo nie hy is iemand wat in 'n bos gaan sit vir 2 weke en kyk hoe dit lyk nie. Ek dink is iemand wat in die area woon. Dis nie iemand wat die geld nodig het nie. Dis hoekom hy nie goedertjies vat nie. Ek gaan nie baie uitbrei oor die profiel wat ons het van hom nie.
Volgens Nel laat die vermeende brandstigter sy merk op tonele agter.
Hy ontlas homself van om die huis en buitekant en sekere plekke. Dit is natuurlik een van die trademark.
Bly ingeskakel, hierna klim ons in die kop van 'n krimineel wat alles wil afbrand. Nou terug. Welkom terug by Fokus. Regisseur Vania van der Heever praat nou met 'n forensiese sielkundige om die siege en die karaktertrekke van 'n brandstigter te verstaan en of rehabilitasie enigstens moontlik is.
Jihada Del Fabro, 'n forensiese sielkundige, het dit oor die vermeende brandstigter gesê.
He's definitely escalating to a point where I think he will need his victims to die. Because I think that will be the ultimate potentially for him, and he's been building towards it and almost seeing how much he can get away with, what's possible. But I think ultimately that would be his fantasy. There's a number of motives. We can start off from kind of the more typical, if you want to call it. We're talking just about an arsonist, not necessarily a serial arsonist. So it might be someone that it's about trying to make a profit. So it will be someone that perhaps is in debt and then insures their house or their company and then starts a fire so they can claim. So that's sort of the fraudulent aspect of your regular arsonist. But when we come to a serial arsonist, it's someone who is getting a psychological thrill or payback or kind of thrill, kick, some sort of satisfaction from the act of fire setting. Now, what we find with serial arsonists is, if we go with FBI definition, it's someone that sets 3 or more fires over a period of time with a cooling off period in between. So it might be that they have a period that they'll wait, and then what happens during that period is they build up. So they fantasize, they build up, and then when it becomes too much for them or too overwhelming, they need to act on that, and then they will commit another crime. What we find with serial arsonists is that there's a couple of subtypes. You get the person that is doing it for profit. So, maybe doing it to and you know, when we have serial felons, it can be different motives. So it might be someone that's getting a financial gain from doing it. There's the individual that sets fires. It's almost got the rescuer complex. So we'll set fires so they can be on the scene, they can rush in, they can save the people, and they get a lot of reinforcement and positive attention from doing that. So that becomes addictive. We also get the kind of what they call a fireman serial arsonist, which is someone that actually works for the fire department and will do this. And obviously they have a lot of knowledge about fires and how to start them, and they're probably drawn to the profession for a reason. But with the individual that we're talking about here, it's very much the revenge arsonist subtype from what we can see. So these are people who have a vendetta against someone. It might be personal. So it may be that they target people who have, in their minds, done them wrong. And it can also be related to groups of people. So it might be socioeconomically. So it might be that they're targeting wealthier people, poorer people. As a group, they might be targeting young people, old people, but they definitely have it set. And it's, in their mind, that's very much linked to perhaps something in their own history where they feel they've been, you know, done wrong by or abused by or hurt by that category of person. We often find that arsonists will sit and watch their work. They will actually get part of the thrill is seeing the houses burn down. And there is an element in some cases, and I'm not sure if it applies to this individual, where there's almost a sexual gratification. So they become quite aroused by the act of fire setting and watching it burn down. And there could be links to many factors in terms of why it's paired for them. So there might be a thrill in terms of power, in terms of feeling that they've got a lot of authority, control over the situation.
Volgens Giada is die onlasting wat die vermeende brandstigter agterlaat meer as net 'n brandmerk.
That's a sign of the immense rage that he has against these people, that he literally wants to spoil what they have. He's sort of taking more chances, and it's because he feels comfortable and because he's getting away with it. He's almost freeing himself up to explore his fantasy completely around what he wants to do to these people. And I think that a lot of these individuals, these serial arsonists, feel inside they feel psychologically, they feel very inadequate. So as much as they are, and that's why sort of they're committing crimes that make them feel in control, in power. But I think that may be linked to the fact that he's targeting older people, may be perhaps related to things that have happened in his past. So it might be that he's had a sort of felt abused by older people in his life. So that's why he's targeting them. But I think from a practical point of view, I think maybe he feels he's more able to subdue an older person than maybe someone his own age or middle-aged.
Volgens Giada is dit die eienskappe van 'n brandstigter.
So what we find is the profile, and there hasn't been research done in this country around the typical profile of an serial arsonist, but the studies that have been done overseas have found that these people are generally, they're not older offenders, they generally are in their 20s. They are male often. They will generally have a secondary level of education, not necessarily tertiary. Their employment's a bit unstable, so they're either unemployed or they maybe have changed jobs a number of times, and they've got a lot of difficulties in their interpersonal relationships. So, and yes, this person won't look like a common criminal. In fact, they will look very normal, and they are quite meticulous about how they commit their crime. It's generally someone that's probably lower middle class to kind of your sub-middle class socioeconomic bracket, lower income. So it may be that he's worked he may be in a profession where he works in these homes, or he maybe do piecework, or maybe he's involved in some artisanal trade, which gives him access. And what appears to be the case is there's immense rage, envy, and towards, what are typically what are considered more affluent suburbs. But maybe that he feels there was an injustice done to even his parents or grandparents in terms of certain class issues or economic issues. And he's internalized this and he's acting this out.
Kan brandstigters gerehabiliteer word?
With difficulty. Because the problem is when you have a serial offender of any kind, serial rapist, serial killer, serial arsonist, those patterns are very ingrained in who they are and their identity. So the likelihood is very high that he would reoffend. It would all depend on, and the problem with this case is that there's a lot of really sadistic elements. So you've got he's not killing them and then burning. He's actually subduing them, trapping them in the house, and enjoying seeing them almost die in this space. So that would indicate an individual that's got quite limited capacity for empathy, for sort of a conscience, a moral compass, and those kinds of individuals are very hard to rehabilitate. So, because those are fundamental parts of a person that are, the foundations are laid very early in life, and it's quite difficult. So, if he genuinely was remorseful, if he was psychotic, which I don't think is the case here, it's too well planned, then you can kind of say, well, there was another reason. But here, it's sort of fundamental to his personality. So I think in this case, it doesn't look like rehabilitation would help. And he probably needs to be incarcerated.
Die Suid-Afrikaanse Polisiediens sê hulle ondersoek tans 19 brandstigting klagtes in die buurte. Volgens die polisie is niemand in verband met die klagtes in hegtenis geneem nie en hulle pleit met die publiek om met inligting vorendag te kom.
Onthou, dis koud hier in Johannesburg, maar ek hoop dis warmer daar waar jy ook al is. Indien jy nie vanaand se program kon volg nie of enige van ons ander programme nie, kan jy ons altyd nog steeds op YouTube kry. Jy soek vir ons onder die naam Fokus, SABC en dan die datum van die uitsending of dit vanaand of selfs vroeër was. Jy kan ons ook volg op ons Facebookblad by Fokus SABC of dan ook op Twitter by Fokus ZA. Baie dankie vir die saamkyk. Ons hoop jy kan volgende Woensdag aand om 7 weer by ons aansluit hier op SABC 2. Onthou ons is kykstof wat saak maak. Tot dan, mooi bly.